Welcome back to the Slay Sum, where I'm counting the unfortunate victims of Joker's and others' nightly escapades. Today I'm dreading the fact that I went forward with this idea as I'm looking at Batman Arkham City, released, wouldn't you know it, 10 years ago to the day. Happy 10th anniversary, Arkham City, I can't express how much you mean to me, and let's get on with the video. Batman Arkham City did everything a sequel should, expand the world, characters, and gameplay. But it did those things in such expert ways that many people still consider it the de facto Arkham game after 10 years, myself among them. In Arkham City, Bruce Wayne aka Batman is captured and locked up in the titular super prison of Arkham City. While in the custody of Hugo Strange, he learns of a mysterious plan known as Protocol 10. He makes it his mission to escape his chains, discover what Protocol 10 is, and put a stop to it. But along the way, a whole lot of people end up dying. So let's see how many and get counting. Our sum doesn't actually begin for a while in the story. The guy shot in the processing center is totally fine, he was just shot in the leg, and we see him get help in the church later. And Black Mask obviously survives until the Red Hood DLC, so he doesn't matter. So I'll actually start the count with a bunch of background bodies after getting the Batsuit. All around Arkham City are little alcoves in the prison wall, whose purpose I still really don't know. They always hide Riddler trophies, and almost always have an unfortunate inmate or two slain. Here's one in Park Row with 2 inmates gunned down, another next to the political prisoner camp with 2 more inmates, one just on the edge of Amusement Mile with 1 guy, one at the back of the steel mill with 1 guy, one on the west side of the industrial district with 1 guy, and finally, one just north of the museum with 2 guys. So before our sum starts proper, we have 9 inmates to add up, and believe you me, it only gets worse. After all those, we have more background bodies, because the story doesn't yet have the balls to kill anyone off. There's 3 guys in the Ferris wheel in the industrial district, and 1 guy slapped on a payphone killed by Zsasz during his little game. Making my job a lot easier is the fact that Zsasz doesn't kill anyone throughout the rest of the game, even during his side quests, so I didn't have to play through it. After that, I can enter the steel mill and find literally nothing for the entire time we're here. Yeah, despite being Joker's hideout, bodies are literally non-existent. Here's a spoiler for later down the list, but Penguin has more bodies in his museum than Joker in the steel mill. Let that sink in, why don't ya? After saving Dr. Baker from the Smelting Chamber and defeating Mr. Hammer, Batman heads into the manager's office of the steel mill to finally confront Joker. Only to realize that the Joker in front of him is supposedly deceased. Now, here's the thing. I am going to count this as a death. Batman's detective vision is never wrong about a kill. I consider it wrong with unconsciousness, hence that gas inmate in Arkham Asylum, but it is never wrong when someone has flatlined. Joker here is clearly flatlined, motionless, and dead. He's just brought back after Batman is knocked down, likely by a defibrillator. And this is not so subtle foreshadowing that I'll be counting Alfred and Bane when I get to Arkham Origins. And while I've got time, I'll go ahead and include the doctor's Joker killed before getting Stacy. We don't have an exact number, but the interview tapes with Strange count at least 6, so that's the number I'm going with. Some of which have some pretty unsavory demises. After Joker infects Batman with his blood, Batman is tasked with finding Mr. Freeze to develop the cure. On the way, he encounters a man stuck on a building sending out a distress call. While questioning what he knows about Strange and Wonder Tower, he's suddenly shot by a sniper. His body salts to the floor as Batman sets up a crime scene and discovers that Deadshot is behind it. And just for the heck of it, I'll include the other 2 Deadshot victims now, even though their bodies don't turn up for a while later in the story, just to make my job a little easier. Searching for Freeze leads Batman to the old GCPD building, where Penguin's crew has taken over. Joker's crew made their way over there to find Freeze for their boss, and ended up killing everyone guarding the outside. They're trying to get in, and I count 11 goons dead. 8 of them Penguins and 3 Jokers just outside the main gates. Nobody's inside, but we do find out that Penguin has Freeze locked up in the museum. And to make sure Joker doesn't interfere with that, he blows the freeways into the sea, killing 6 inmates in the process and trapping some of his own crew with the Jokers. The heartless bastard has no regard for the public. Doesn't he know how much the taxpayers are going to be charged to rebuild this freeway? You're probably among them, Cobblepot! We then discover that someone has killed a man, cut off his face, and left him to rot in an alley. We later find out that the killer is the Identity Thief, aka Hush, aka Thomas Elliot. He's killed 5 other people and taken parts of their faces to make an exact replica of Bruce Wayne's face. He killed 3 of them before the events of Arkham City, but 3 of his victims are found on the prison grounds. The one we just found, along with 2 more later in the story. But like with Deadshot, I'm counting them now for simplicity's sake. Batman makes it to the museum only to find the doors completely locked and no way for him to hack them open. Penguin set up communication disruptors, meaning Batman can no longer hack his way out of every problem. And the entire arc to shut them down leads to no more sleighs, so I'll just move on. Batman finally makes his way into the museum and finds out that Gordon's team of undercover cops has been discovered and are now in grave danger. Before we can save them though, we can count some bodies in Penguin's display cases. He's got 2 of Joker's and Two-Face's crew, along with a Tiger Guard dead on display, adding 5 more to our sum. Now here's something important. I am not counting all these skeletons as bodies. Not only are there way too many, but they're all completely clean, meaning they are very likely not from a human. They threw me off a lot while I was searching, but I'm not counting them. James doesn't count bastard skellies, so neither will I.
Grow some skin, you fucks!
When Batman enters the Gladiator pit, he sees one of the cops at the top of the room begging for help. The cop then twitches back and falls down, shot in the back by Penguin's umbrella. A pretty sad fate for this guy, especially since he was so close to salvation. After Penguin spouts to Batman about hiring new recruits, he unintentionally kills this henchman's nuts and any chance of having future kids. Not going on the sum, but still, poor dude. He even lit your cigar for you, Cobblepot. Why don't you care about the little man? Wait a minute. Also, there are 3 guys dead in the pit before we even get there, but don't worry about it. Batman makes his way to the torture chamber, where we can see 4 corpses floating in the icy waters below, surprisingly not eaten by Tiny. Guess Penguin was wrong about him being a mobile garbage truck. Anyway, Batman saves Freeze, gets the override for his gun, and can go confront Penguin without adding any more to our sum. That is, until Penguin blows the iceberg out of the lounge. See, there were 10 cops in Gordon's team. He saved 1 right after getting jumpscared by the T-Rex, 3 in the torture chamber, 3 in the war room, and see 1 get shot in the Gladiator pit. That's 8 with only 7 alive. When confronting Penguin, you see the last 2 kneeling on the iceberg. However, when you go back to the iceberg lounge later in the story to rendezvous with the cops, there are only 8 of them. Meaning, one of these 2 must have died somehow or some way. What's weirder is that none of the cops acknowledge it or their other fallen comrade. So that just left me more confused. I don't know, but throw him on the list anyway. And now we get to the question of Grundy. Batman beats him up and basically rips his heart out, but we never really know what he is. He has no heartbeat, but Detective Mode labels him as unknown. And I was too stupid to check what it said during the fight, but I'd imagine it's the same thing. As Penguin says,
"What have you done? You can't kill him! You can't!"
Furthermore, Batman has made it very clear that he'll never kill, even those who are known to come back from the dead, namely Ra's. So I don't know if this would kill, even knowing Grundy can come back. Just because of the standard he'd set with Ra's, I'm going to leave Grundy off the sum. I really have no way of knowing with the minimal research I did outside the recording process, so I'm just going to leave him off and move on. And we move on to Wonder City to find Ra's al Ghul. First though, we must travel through the sewers and see that Joker's crew has started killing off penguins in an attempt to reach the museum. There are 5 guys in the subway tunnel, which are very likely the 5 guys Batman beat up to disable the jammer earlier. Little dark, I know, but probably the case. When we get to the actual Wonder City, the League of Assassins has done some amazing work keeping intruders out while simultaneously expanding their interior decorating skills. Just look at all these bodies they have strung up in this hallway. Oh, they're just fabulous. Oh, and one guy stumbling towards Batman with a sword in his back. Probably not healthy. Then some more shenanigans happen. We see the Waynes again, but they're not going on the count like an asylum. Batman glides around in a weird orange world that somehow tests his worth as Ra's successor, then we go to fight Ra's. Nothing interesting happens here except Ra's goes down for now and Batman returns to the surface to get his blood to freeze, passing one new body on the way back up to the surface. Well, that one, and this enormous pile of bodies in the subway station. I think, and it's a big think, there are 15 guys in this pile, 10 scattered on the floor and 5 more on the cart. But there could very easily be more or even less. The problem is that their bodies clip together, so I have no idea whose parts I'm counting on who. I did my best to focus on heads and got 15, so that's the number I'm going with. Oh, and there's 5 more just scattered through the rest of the station. Just a casual 20 bodies, no big deal. Quincy Sharp is interrogated for information on Strange, but he of course knows nothing, so we leave him on this rooftop that he somehow makes his way down and to his church. Freeze kills this cure, then tries to kill Batman, but both only lead to his downfall. After his little fit, Batman leaves the GCPD and is spotted by a newscopter. The copter is of course run by Vicky Vale, but it definitely isn't piloted by her. We see after Joker shoots it down that only she survived the crash, meaning her pilot is unfortunately deceased and going on the sun. Before going after Joker, we make a little detour to Scarecrow's secret barge, where we see an unfortunate test subject spaz to life, only to collapse and very likely die. Obviously, we can't confirm if he's dead or not, but I'm putting him here anyway. Batman must now make his way back to the steel mill to get the cure back from Joker, and must do so by going through the cooling tunnels. Along the way, I encountered no bodies, meaning our sun stays the same. In fact, there's nothing for the entire rest of the steel mill. There's nothing in the boiler room with the stolen freeze tech, and Joker's funhouse provides no sleighs to add. But what's this? A cave-in? Oh no. This is the moment I've been dreading since I made the asylum sum. Protocol 10 is the worst-case security measure, where a large fleet of helicopters fires missiles on the entire city, killing as many inmates as possible with the plan for everyone to be left dead. Just look at how many bodies are scattered throughout Arkham City. And you know what? I counted them all. I went one district at a time and counted every single body I could find. Mind you, while still playing the game and avoiding helicopters. I even purposely played on easy mode and upgraded my ballistic armor all the way in preparation for this moment. This section was not easy to count, and frankly, I doubt I even got every body. With how scattered these corpses are and the fact that detective mode isn't able to see them through buildings, it's entirely possible I missed some. But I did my best to count every corpse, and this is the result I came up with. In the industrial district, we've got 5 corpses behind the steel mill, 2 guys next to the Titan container with one of their buddies safe just under this ledge, 5 guys outside the steel mill with 5 more just past the gates, 5 guys next to Zaz's hideout, 6 guys next to the payphone victim, 3 guys right here with 2 of their buddies safe, and 5 guys outside the storage area with Nora with 2 safe under the crane. Whew! Already starting off with 36 guys in just one area. Thankfully, Amusement Mile is much more condensed. There's 5 guys on this rooftop across from Maxi Zeus, 1 actually on the Maxi Zeus building, 4 outside of Crank Go, 4 in the frozen pool area with 3 of their buddies safe. I actually hid with them from this helicopter, which didn't shoot them down, but how dark would that have been? You use this area to hide from helicopters only to reveal inmates and have them gunned down right in front of you. And finally, 2 more on top of the casino. Much less, but that's just because this is a much smaller area for inmates to actually roam, leading to a relatively small 16 inmates dead in Amusement Mile. In Park Row, we start with 2 right outside the church, 6 on the perimeter of the church walls, 2 on this building next to the courthouse, 2 in front of the movie theater, and 3 more just down the street, 5 right outside the courthouse, 4 guys just west of the courthouse, 1 of them on top of the building, 1 in the alley east of the courthouse, 2 next to the sewer grate, and 2 right on the border of the Bowery, which all totals up to 29 bodies for Park Row. Not quite as many as Industrial, but that's just fine by me. Finally, moving on to the Bowery, we start with 2 guys in the alley Penguin tried to beat us in, 5 guys outside the museum, 2 on the elevated train station, 4 outside the Iceberg Lounge, 4 on the bank building, 3 next to the first identity thief victim, and finally, 8 bodies outside the main gate, which adds up to 28 victims in the Bowery. Not quite the 100 casualties Tiger was reporting on, but that is fine by me. And speaking of, I know Tiger is constantly reporting casualties like the aforementioned 100 along with scratch 20 more inmates and more, but I can only count what I see in this case. Since I can actively see the damage the helicopters are doing, I can't just include bodies that don't exist. This isn't like Hush where the damage was done off screen and was a small enough number to be believable. So I'm not taking these lines into account. But with that in mind, I ended up counting a whopping 109 victims slain during Protocol 10. A ridiculous number that took almost an entire night for Joker to achieve in Arkham Asylum is achieved in just a few minutes by Strange. And those are just the ones that fell victim to the missiles. After that ridiculous slog, Batman finally makes his way to the processing center to try and stop Protocol 10. Please do so before more bodies turn up, like this guy who was actually the guy Hugo Strange was interrogating during that amazing Arkham City trailer. Then Batman meets up with the medical intern back in Wonder City, and come on! Another big ol' pile of bodies for me to count. Fan-friggin-tastic. There's 5 guys in this pile here, bringing our Protocol 10 casualties all the higher. Thankfully, there isn't anything to count on the long climb up Wonder Tower. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt a ton of inmates died after my counting was done, but I'm not going back down there to confirm or deny anything. Deal with it. But that doesn't mean we're done with casualties just yet. As after Batman reaches the top of Wonder Tower and defeats the Tiger Guards protecting Strange, we get our big reveal. Ra's al Ghul stabs Strange through the back, revealing that he was the mastermind behind Arkham City all along. So he's responsible for the bodies I just counted! And he's adding a few more to the list right now. Strange passes from his injuries and activates Protocol 11. In a similar fashion to 10, Wonder Tower explodes, ensuring Strange is dead and killing the 6 guards Batman took out to get to him. There is basically no way these guards would have woken up and left the tower before it exploded, meaning they are most certainly dead along with Strange. As Batman and Ra's go into freefall, Batman tries to save Ra's, but he won't allow that and stabs himself through the gut attempting to get Batman with him. He misses and falls all the way to the ground below, landing on the Arkham City sign, impaling him straight through the gut. Holy crap! Sure, it's not explicit, you can't even see any blood like you could with Strange, but the sheer brutality of that landing, plus the aftermath we see in the Night DLC, makes this slay an all-timer. And we're not done yet. Despite the finality of that sequence, we've still got to stop Joker from becoming immortal. Well, Batman is able to make it to the movie theater before he even gets the chance. Turns out Talia didn't even need saving as she unbinds herself, grabs her sword, and stabs Joker in the back just like with Strange. Joker falls to the ground soon after, Talia satisfied with her work. Until Batman begins to put the pieces together that Joker may not have been Joker the whole time? And he's right! Talia gets shot in the back by the real Joker, who of course just makes light of the whole situation. Talia collapses to the floor, the cure falling out of her hand. But then, who was the Joker she just stabbed? It's none other than the first Lego Batman boss, Clayface. He won't be put down by a single stab to the not gut, so he decides to fight Batman with all he's got. Joker ends up blowing a hole into the theater floor, leading directly to the Lazarus Pit. How convenient. Clayface puts up one final show for Batman, who's able to defeat him and get the cure, saving him from Joker's poisoning. Now, I'm not putting Clayface on the count, because he's pretty much immortal already. Him being dumped into the Lazarus Pit, even after being split in half, really meant nothing. Sure, he never comes back to the Arkham franchise, but come on, he's not dead. Who is dead, however, is Joker. After he stabs Batman in the arm to try to get the cure, and failing to lick up what remains on the ground, he gets one last laugh with Batman.
Do you want to know something funny? Even after everything you've done, I would have saved you.
Joker takes his final breaths and goes out with a smile. Batman picks up his body and walks out of the theater with it. All of Joker's thugs, who were previously cheering for their beloved boss, go silent, and step aside as Batman walks out with his body. He reaches the gates of Arkham City where Commissioner Gordon and the GCPD have finally arrived. He slowly walks out with Joker's body, Gordon asking him what happened. He sets Joker on a police car and begins walking away without a word.
Batman, what happened?
A monstrous 223 people were slain in Batman Arkham City. We had a breakdown of 204 goons to 19 guards, a more than 10-to-1 imbalance in favor of the criminals. Dang. Though, in fairness, half the goons were from Protocol 10 alone, so, you know.
Like last time, I'm giving out awards for what I thought were the best and worst slays in this game. The Platinum Battering goes to the coolest slay, and I'm actually going to give it to Ra's al Ghul. Joker's death may have been a much bigger story impact, and the scene of Batman walking his body out of Arkham City was really powerful. But watching Ra's stab himself in freefall only to fall and impale himself on the Arkham City sign is just gnarly. I love it. Let's see it one more time. Nice. Conversely, the bad joke goes to the lamest slay, and I gotta give it to Talia. A single shot to the back is no way for this badass lady to go out. Plus, the death just flat out forgot she died right after she did, as her body disappears right after Batman puts her down. Come on, at least leave her body on the battlefield or something so we know you cared at all about her.
I'm sorry, beloved. I didn't know.
Encore! More! Bravo!
And that is all she wrote, chaps. Thank you so much for watching. Happy 10th anniversary once again to Arkham City. You deserve it. I wish I had more to say on the matter, but I really don't. Go play Arkham City again, or just watch some of my other City videos. Do all the YouTube stuff like subscribing, and I'll see you later, chaps.